And hello, everyone, my brothers and sisters from around the world. Wherever you are, I am so happy that you're here. My name is Tendai Jordan, and I want to welcome you to Tendai's Tips for a Happy Life. That's you. We want to be happy. So, we have been talking about self care, meaning taking care of yourself without guilt first, okay? And every area of your life. So we started out with boundaries. If you haven't seen the first or any of the other videos, that's fine. I'm just going to invite you to go back in YouTube, subscribe to the channel, and check out the other videos. And also check out tendaijordan.com. But what I would like to talk about today, we started out with boundaries and how to set them, and also the importance of saying yes when you mean it, and saying no when you mean it, as it relates to boundaries at this point. But here's what's been happening. I've had a couple of conversations, and I've also did some research online, and I found that maybe we need to unpack this whole idea of boundaries just a little bit deeper before we move on to other ways to take care of yourself. So, I'm also going to invite you to stay to the end because I have something special for you today. All right. So, we talked about boundaries being flexible, something you set for yourself. And when I was talking to other people and reading some definitions about boundaries, I was a little bit surprised. But here's what I would like to suggest or add to the conversation about boundaries. Now, the definition I saw, and most of the work that was done around boundaries were by psychologists and psychiatrists, social workers, and their definition. So I realize and appreciate that they're coming from a certain point of view, and and saying though how important they are, but they define them something like they're limits we set with other people, which we find acceptable and unacceptable in their behavior toward us. And I'm sure that that's absolutely a good thing to do. I'd like to kind of add to that, like I said, another way of thinking about boundaries, which is reiterating what we talked about in the earlier videos. Boundaries are for you. They come from you. They are for you. And they're set around your behavior and your activities, your thinking, your beliefs around your goals. So, to set boundaries, I'd like to suggest the first thing, because sometimes, like, what boundary do I set? Where do I start? If in fact you find yourself overwhelmed, stuck, unhappy, can't have that. So, let's begin with setting boundaries. Set them around who you are, which means you have to be aware of who you are and those things that you might want to change about what's going on in your life. So if you are a stubborn person or a flexible person, then your boundaries are going to be set around those ideas or beliefs you have about yourself. If you are outgoing or social, or you're what you might think you are introverted, or you don't get out a lot, or you find yourself frustrated many times or don't know what you're doing, these are the things you got to know, you want to explore about yourself as you are in this process of setting boundaries. The other thing is, and we talked about this last time, is your goals. What do you want for yourself? What do you want for yourself in several areas? Example, around time, around the time that you spend doing certain things. What do you want for yourself around that? What do you want for yourself around your health and well-being, which is very general and very, global way of looking at it, but it means everything in your life. What do you want? And also, what do you want around your space, your personal space, your body, your sexuality? What kind of things do you want? So when you look at that, you might not have it now, or you might not see it in your life, but what do you want? So you set some goals. So boundaries are guideposts. They're just guideposts, and they can change when you change, because as you set boundaries and you say yes and no very powerfully when you really want to, then you're going to change and your boundaries will change. So they're not etched in stone, as we said before. So, in what areas of your life are boundaries important? I want to focus at this time on things like your relationships. And there's a body of work around setting boundaries around relationships. There's a body of work around your career and or the business that you own, or your own home business or small, whatever it is around the work that you do in the world for the world. There are boundaries that you want to set around that. And of course, your finances. So those again are, you set them for yourself so that you don't go out of the bounds of what you want. The things that you do, your activities, your behaviors, your work doesn't move you away from this goal, because you make certain decisions. But when you have that goal, the decisions you make, the choices you make, and because of the boundaries you've set, how you said yes and no, leads you right to that goal. So if you're on a job and you have boundaries you've set, how much time you're going to be on the job? Are you the person that's the first one there in the morning before even the boss, and the last one to leave? Is that a boundary you set for each other? Or is that something you just felt like you needed to do to shine, or to be feel worthy of that job, or you want people to know or feel like you've worked hard and you're a hard worker and you know what you're doing? Or have you allowed the work that's built up in the job dictate to you that you've got to be there 12 hours as opposed to the 8 that people are there? So those are the things you want to think about when you set your boundaries. So you can set a boundary for, I'm just going to be at work for 8 hours. When 5 o'clock comes, or when I talk to my last client, or I've done my last blog, then it's time for me to go home, be with my family, and do some other things. Those are the boundaries you set. Your time frames. When do you get up in the morning? What time, how much time do you spend with your spiritual work, with your quiet time with you? How much time do you spend exercising? Have you set boundaries around that work for you as well as grow you? So looking at specifics like your career, your business, or your job, you want to set boundaries. How much time you're going to spend with the client? That was one I really had to work on, because I love people's stories. I want to help, and I hadn't set boundaries like I should. I was spending, okay, so I'm a life coach, so I have a coaching session that's for an hour. Now, if you go over, a couple minutes here and there, that's one thing. But I'd look up and it's an hour and a half, and because the person was into it, or I'm feeling like they haven't finished sharing, and I really want to hear Mm-mm. No, I had to stop that because now if I spend too much time, when I've set the time frame, I wasn't sticking to my own boundary. I was going further and then not being as prepared as I wanted to for the next client if it was, coming up, or getting to the next appointment, or starting dinner, or whatever. See, it starts to back up on you. It starts to start frustration and overwhelm and feeling out of sorts. And we've already talked about how when you don't stick to your boundaries, or your yes and your no appropriately and healthy, get your SPS on, set your boundaries, put your foot down and be firm, you know. Um, so it was like, I gotta stop. So the boundary was for me to do what I needed to do to meet my goals of being on time and being fresh and being be ready for the next thing that I needed to do, next scheduled thing. So that's just an example. If you have your own business, if you work, um, whatever career you have, what are the boundaries you set around that so that you end up being fulfilled and happy? And remember one thing too: boundaries aren't for other people. They cannot see your boundaries. But when you respond to requests or dictates or other rules, when you respond to them in a way that's, from your heart, people begin to understand and they learn. You're not going to be the one that they're going to call if there's a leak in the office and somebody needs to be there at 3 o'clock in the morning. You're not going to be the one that calls because they know, said no several times. So there's just, again, they're for you. And when you stick to them and you stand firm, people will begin to understand what your boundaries are and respect them. And that even would encourage them to set their own boundaries. So if it's on, like I said, there's several ways or several areas you want to set boundaries. And just sit down with yourself. Look at who you are, what you want, what your goals are, and how you're going to get there by not, doing that shopping and spending $1,000 when you could be getting a good coach, or you can get someone to do your copywriting for you. Um, just saying, just saying. So anyway, I did say, and I'm glad you stayed to the end. I really would like to have a strategic planning session with you for 30 minutes if you are willing and able and feel like you need some support in setting boundaries, identifying them, and how to maintain them. And we can spend some time doing that to get you on the right foot and going in the right direction. How about that? A free 30-minute strategy consult with Tendai Jordan. So I'm going to leave a link for you to click on, and then you can fill out the form and we can schedule a time together. I really would like to, because it seems like there's more to this than I had originally thought, because people are needing to do this. And there's we gotta have some questions, and there's always uh, leaving comments below wherever you're seeing this. I would invite you to share with us what your feelings have been, what you've gotten out of the conversation, what you'd like to add to the conversation, what your experience has been. Like I said, I would appreciate that to help me and help us. And also subscribe to this YouTube channel, as well as join me on Facebook and check out TendaiJordan.com. We'd love to see you there also. So let's talk for 30 minutes and we can get a lot done and get you on your way. What's next for you in terms of your boundaries? Um, hey, and you know what I want you to do. Be happy. Have the best day ever. Take care of yourself. Ciao.